Hi everyone, welcome back to Mind Body Food. My name is Vicky. I'm so pleased that you've joined me. Thank you for your time. Today I'm talking about food rules. Now, if you have been on a diet at any time in your life, then of course there would have been certain guidelines to adhere to while you were on that diet. Now, the problem happens when we have serial dieters and we have a little bit too extreme food rules, or the temperament of taking rules around a certain dieting way or method to extreme. And what we end up with over that duration of dieting is certain beliefs and thought patterns that may not necessarily be healthy for us for the long term, but ones that kind of stick around in the back of our mind and influence the way that we eat and show up in our lives every day. Now, food rules are something that could be something as small as I don't have carbs after 7 o'clock. Or it could be a little bit more extreme, like I am not allowed to eat carbs after lunchtime, which is a little hard to do. But it could also be something as extreme as I can have no more than 10 grams of protein per meal. Now, 10 grams of protein is certainly not going to be very much for the average person, nowhere near enough. However, these are actual real life examples I've given you from previous clients over the years. And I've got to tell you, I had my own whole host of food rules when I was going through my eating disorder for 18 years. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is how much are your food rules actually showing up in your life and influencing your eating? Your eating, whether it's on your own or in social situations, in family, normal meal times. How and when are your food rules showing up? Because what I want you to understand is that a lot of these food rules are coming from our subconscious mind. They're coming from programmed belief and thinking patterns that have developed over a time of fixating on food and controlling the way that we eat. So a lot of these food rules, whether you are currently dieting or not, may be showing up in your life and you are completely unaware of them. So one tool I like to get my clients to do is actually to bring these food rules into the light. Write them all down. Get a piece of paper and write down as many food rules that you can think of that you know you have put into place or enforced upon yourself during any time in the past. Now, this is really, really helpful because when you have all of these food rules stuck in the subconscious mind, it doesn't mean that because you may have found a little bit more peace with food, or you may have moved away from dieting and have found a way that works for you, that these food rules are not going to tap, tap, tap you on the shoulder and be whispering in your ear when you are making certain food choices. Now, a classic example of this, you might be finding yourself in a situation at work where in many, many workplaces, it is customary to join everybody in the tea room for not just lunch, but also morning tea and afternoon tea. But what if you're not hungry? What if you have actually learnt to listen to your hunger, but still struggle in social situations of whether or not you should eat or not? Now, for many of you who don't have eating issues, you might think, well, if I'm not hungry, I'm just not going to eat. For those of you who have past eating issues or disordered patterns of eating, that's not so cut and dry and super simple, because you may be sitting there and instead of listening to what your co-workers are talking about, you might be distracted by the fact that there is a massive chocolate cake sitting in front of you calling out your name. And you might be focused on telling yourself, I can't have that chocolate cake. I don't want that chocolate cake. Stop looking at the chocolate cake. I can't have it. But all your mind is hearing is chocolate cake, chocolate cake, chocolate cake. You're staring at it. You keep thinking about it. You keep saying chocolate cake in your mind. You must want the chocolate cake. And whether or not you succumb in front of all your co-workers, or whether that fear of eating in front of your peers and eating that type of food in front of your peers is just all too much, you wait until they leave, or you go back into the tea room later and get yourself a piece of that chocolate cake. That situation is being influenced by your subconscious mind and the food rules that are still hanging around. And sometimes you may even find yourself in those situations where food is staring at you. You know you're not really hungry, but there's a part of you that is kind of wanting to eat it. And then you notice this presence of a little voice in the back of your head saying, you can't have that. It's not the right time of day. It's not the right type of food. It's the wrong macronutrient. That's an example of your little inner voice and attaching itself to your food rules coming into play in your everyday life. Whether you are consciously aware of it or not, if you think about it, you may recognize that that does happen for you. What to do about it? This is where writing down a list of your food rules comes into play, because what you're doing then is you're taking something that is unconscious, not part of your logical thinking mind every day. You're taking it out of the subconscious mind. You are writing it down in front of you. And you may have an absolute field day and be in fits of giggles looking at some of the ridiculous food rules that you may have previously been operating in. But you may also become aware of some of the food rules that may not be so ridiculous, but may be coming into play in your everyday life that is still making your choices around food stressful or uncomfortable. So bring them into awareness. Write down all of your food rules and then gradually, one by one, challenge them. Is this food rule actually necessary? Is it true? Do I need to be worrying about this anymore? Or what was I thinking when I made that food rule? Have a laugh about it. Have a bit of a giggle. Pull it apart and remind yourself you are free to choose. And here is a good little way to think about it. You are free to choose what you eat when you eat according to your hunger. You are free to change your mind. You are free to eat what feels most nourishing to you in that moment. This is the way to bring these food rules out into the open, get rid of the ones that no longer serve you, and readjust the ones that may not be quite appropriate for where you're at in your current daily life. So I hope this has been helpful. Please share it with your friends. Get the message out. Dieting is not the way, because the way to be happy, healthy, and confident is to start living and stop dieting. So here's to you being happy, loving yourself, and tasting freedom. See you next time.